Okay, welcome everyone. And if you're new, go ahead and just say hello in the chat. Maybe you'll wait before you say hello in the chat until you figure out what the hell this is. Um, Maybe you don't want to be recognized. I can not acknowledge before you get more information about what you're stepping into. So here we go. So welcome everyone. I'm Lama Rod. I use he, him pronouns. And I'm here on the ancestral lands of the Creek, Cherokee, and Muskogee people here in Atlanta, Georgia, and which sometimes seems like the center of the universe these days, you know, because these folks are ready to lock Trump up down here. Man, all these black folks in power, I'm telling you, you can only talk so much shit until you get down to Atlanta. Um, So yeah, thank you everyone for showing up to everything. This has been, since early August. It's been very busy. A lot of teaching, lots of retreats, lots of online programs, and we just finished up um, our weekend in-person retreat here in Atlanta, which was fun. Next time, I'll try to remember when the retreat actually ends, so I can facilitate a smooth transition to conclusion instead of just walking away. Um, but you had to been there. It's an inside joke. And yeah, we finished up I what seems like the first round of spiritual abolition in the Heart Sutra. I think we're gonna get on top of it again, I think, in some iteration. Um, so there's lots of stuff coming in the fall. We are working my team, my personal team, we're working very hard to pull off a lot of new things this fall. Primary of which is a book release, and so that's happening. Then on top of that, just some other new offerings. Um, and one of those offerings will be, I won't say much about it, but it's going to be the creation of an online kind of archive of everything that I'm doing. And you can, pay a subscription to get into that, be a part of that. Very low subscription fee, but just so low as a couple of dollars. But just a way for us to start focusing, all the work that I'm doing, and just to offer some new stuff, some new offerings that will only be available in that subscription service. So look out for that, and much more. There's more stuff coming. So, but you will be distracted by the book, so it doesn't really matter what else is coming out. I can say anything I want after the book comes out because you're going to be completely overwhelmed and distracted. So again, welcome to those of you who are new joining us. Welcome again. Just please, if you would like, introduce yourself in the chat. And any questions to start out with as well. Um, I've been thinking so much about healing. There are so many people around me right now, both family and just close friends who are just really moving through some health challenges. Um, and so I've been really, really offering prayers and just doing what I can to support people, as well. But this is part of it. This is, as the Buddha taught, old age, sickness, and death, impermanence, all of that, right? This is part of what it means to, you know, to to be in a physical form, right? To be housed, I would often say, in this precious temple of the body, right? And it's precious because it is a vehicle. It's part of our vehicle to get awakened, in this life, so the body is precious. The body is how we touch the earth, and the earth is there to validate our labor in getting free, right? And no matter what we're working with, in terms of our bodies, at the end of the day, no matter what, we all have to come into the space and practice of deep gratitude for our bodies, right? It doesn't matter if we can't even touch our bodies. It doesn't matter, if we're so disassociated, disembodied. Like even in a disembodied space, there can still be some gratitude for the body, right? Um, and it's so yeah, and as someone who um, has survived really intense disassociation, and have really engaged in some profound feats of healing, with the support of this practice and other methodologies and modalities is what I'm trying to say. Like with this practice and other modalities and so forth, like it is, for me, a long, difficult, painful journey. Um, but um, it has transformed everything that I do, right? So however you think I have changed or deepened the practice, or just changed or shifted how I show up, is really because of the work that I've done with trauma, and disembodiment, and the support to not just modalities and practices, but the actual support of people who helped me to return back to my body, to be in a new kind of love um, with this physical body. And you'll see that in New Saints, a lot of body focus in the New Saints, right? You're gonna get some focuses on certain parts of my body that maybe you weren't actually interested in reading about, but there you go. um, but and I offer like kind of a new practice in working with disembodiment, disassociation, and physical trauma in the book, that I hope will be helpful for for some of us, right? Um, and I'm also in this new trauma summit that's happening at some point somewhere. But I've done all the work for it, and you can find that somewhere. So that's as specific as I can get these days. But it's on my Instagram if you're on Instagram, so you can find that on Instagram. And it's a summit with lots of folks, like Joy DeGruy, for instance, post-traumatic slave syndrome, who her book, her work completely like awakened this new understanding of trauma and racial trauma, intergenerational trauma. Um, so I'm with her and Dan Siegel, um, and yeah, a couple other people, as well. So excited about that. Check that out as well. And yeah, um, yeah, this trauma, right? Um, I deal a lot with trauma in the book, right, as well. Um, but it takes so much care, so much tenderness, and so much space to to be with trauma, right? And so much clarity, you know. Um, so much of this work for me has been about learning how to um, love and care for everything that like I just habitually run away from, right? And that's really the path of liberation. That's the freedom that we're talking about. It's not running away um, from the pain, but is learning how to turn around and to hold space for the pain, right? And that's how we care for for the suffering and however the suffering manifests, is to allow, right, to hold space for. Um, of course, to set our boundaries around how to be in relationship to these experiences, um, and also to call in supports, calling in support. Um, I will always tell you, and this is what I end up telling everyone who's coming for advice. It's like, you need to ask for help, right? Energetic support, ancestral support, whatever, angelic support, right? It doesn't matter. We have to learn to ask um, for the support that is always around us, right? And I think that's one of the ways colonialism has really disrupted our relationship to the phenomenal world is that we think that we're so autonomous and individual and separate, and it's so deeply ingrained in, into our experience that like asking for help is almost feels shameful, you know. Um, and we get indoctrinated into this belief that being cared for, being helped, being supported is this expression of weakness. And of course, that I think is so rooted in patriarchy, right? Um, and this is why we just struggle to ask for help, you know. Um, and we have to just cut through that and say, you know what, I depend on people, right? I depend on communities, I depend on those around me, you know. I think it was the Beatles who sang, I get by with the help of my friends. Y'all pay attention, stop wishing Karen a happy birthday. I see that. How are you paying attention to me and you haven't even wished me a belated birthday. My birthday was on Thursday. I don't want to hear any of
Oh
this.
my God, happy belated birthday.
All this happy.
It could have gone either way. I was like, does Lama Rod want me to share that, or does he not want me to share that? Mysteries.
I
Yeah,
wish you a happy birthday on Thursday, Lama
that's
Rod.
right.
Yeah, some of us thanked your mom ourselves.
Yeah, which she appreciates, and you should do that more. Go to her Instagram page. Ignore all the like Christian posts, right? And just like send her an instant, DM saying thank you for your son, right? It helps. Your generosity helps us to be in a relationship. Anyway, happy birthday, Karen, as well. Happy birthday. All these Virgos. There's a lot of birthday parties in September, because years ago, some people had a lot of time during the holidays. you know, Christmas break will get you into trouble. Too much time on your hands, too much eggnog, right?
Karen Nelson too.
Karen Nelson is today as well. Oh my goodness.
Yes, for real. September 11th, also the day my dad died in
No.
98. Ooh, heavy day, big day.
Well, it's a heavy, yeah. September 11th, heavy day. And then on top
Thank
of
you.
one, yeah. And let's offer prayers for your father today. It doesn't matter how long people have transitioned on, or how long they've been gone. It doesn't even matter if they've reincarnated into a life. Like prayers will continue. Here's a theory. You know, I bet there are people still praying for you from a previous life, perhaps. Right. So even think about that. May or may not. I don't. It's a theory, right? But it's possible, and those prayers help. right? No matter how long someone's been gone, you can always pray. You know, ancestor practice for me is how I continue to pray for beings, people in my familial line, many of whom I don't know, but still, it doesn't matter. Like prayers, like really, really help, right? And our love for people is a connection that's it's like a pipeline, like, and so whatever we send through that pipeline, they get, you know, absolutely. So you just never know. That's why I make these general prayers that like everyone connected to me, and they be well and safe, you know, and happy and free, right? Anyone I've ever met, right? May they be free, right? Everyone who's transitioned, may they be free and happy and safe. And that's how we again tend to the grieving, the loss. It's like we just care. We just continue to want people to be safe and happy and well, even though we may not be able to be with them, right? And that's of course, love is a karmic connection that really ties us together, you know, lifetime after lifetime. Hate also ties you together as well, so you're gonna have to be careful with that one. You know, love and hate are some of the strongest energetic forces in the universe, right? And they will bind us to things. You think you hate something, hating is like aversion, but it actually links you to that thing until you free, you know, that person or thing from this intense aversion, right? You know, until that work is done, that you're tied to that thing, that person over and over again, right? Of course, that old like colloquial teaching in Tibetan Buddhism where they say that like your family or the people that you didn't like in past lives, you know. So I don't know. Um, again, um, I'll tell you this, when I was in 3-year retreat with my cohort, I was like, I have got to break this cycle. I can't, I can't be locked up in a house with you again in another life cycle. I just can't do it. um, so yeah, so let's get into some practice and, you know, make sure, you know, you get your prayers in as well on the prayer list. But, you know, also with the prayers before we begin, you know, just holding the prayer, if you don't want to, you know, put it out there, you know, for the community, just hold that prayer. Like just in your mind, just give it a lot of space. And so as we're moving through our practice, that prayer is lifted and shared and offered, right? So don't feel like your prayers aren't being addressed because you don't write it on the Google Doc. If they are, right? But we do the Google, you know, we offer the prayers publicly because it's so helpful for us to hear. For some of us, our prayers being lifted in the collective, right? So it feels like everyone is adding their own intentions to the prayer itself. Right? Okay, so let's begin. Um, and again, just, you know, as we enter into our practice, just allowing our bodies first to come into a position that feels appropriate for us. Right? And so, as I often say, this is like the first kind of freedom we offer our bodies is by just allowing our bodies to be, you know. And we just kind of we check in, we ask our body what our body needs, and let your body respond, right? And let there be some ease in your practice, as much ease that is possible, but ease, as we say, easeful, right? And sometimes when I start this kind of allowing my body to be, um, often there's like this kind of wave of emotional energy that begins to arise. It's almost as if when I like allow my body to just like open and expand and take up space, then it lets go of something that it's been holding on to. And I just point that out now because I noticed just this kind of wave, this little wave of like grief, like sadness, right? That just kind of like sprung up after I went through my own process of allowing my body to be at ease. So I just noticed it. I noticed it and I named it, right? And just for me, I'm just allowing myself to experience um, what that is more as grief, what this grief feels like. And because, grieving practice is something I do every day, this isn't terribly extraordinary or confusing or shocking, right? It is what it is, right? As I experience, I just get some space around it by not reacting to it. Right. And so as you're like releasing and letting go and holding space, connecting to the seat under you, noticing how the seat rises to hold you, connecting to the earth under us. And when we think about the earth, we are touching the earth energetically. And then allowing the seat and the earth to be supports and anchors for us as we're experiencing and holding space. So when I'm moving through a lot of grief, right, like I'm always connecting to something solid, something tangible, and it feels like it is an anchor. So it's like I'm just rooting in the solidity, the solidness or weightiness. And this is just kind of like a pre-practice, so this isn't the main event. This is the appetizer, but just a little more, a little further, right? And this is a really great space for us to practice offering to Medicine Buddha what we struggle to hold for ourselves, right? And you can actually just imagine Medicine Buddha in front of you in your mind or actually in front of you. And you just imagine this offering, right? This grief, this sadness, wherever it may be actually, to the Buddha, to Medicine Buddha. And to maybe facilitate that for some of us, in case we need to transform this energetic experience of grief into something that we can imagine offering, so you can imagine the energy of your grief, your experience of your grief transforming into something actually really beautiful, like flowers, for instance. This is what I use. Like something precious, valuable, wonderful. So my grief and my experience of grief transforms into like the most beautiful flowers. And just a side note, I enjoy getting flowers as well. So in case you're wondering what to get me as a present, flowers, monies, and chocolate can never go wrong. I'm that kind of lady. Um, but diamonds are a girl's best friend. So if you feel so inclined, I do accept jewelry, real jewelry. That's neither here or there. But getting back to the practice. So your grief transforms into something that feels appropriate for you. And then you're just offering it to the Buddha. And again, I say flowers because I know some of us really struggle with offering an experience that feels really uncomfortable to the earth or to Buddhas, and deities in our practice. So transform it, make it beautiful. But for me, my grief in a really sincere way is already beautiful because I already relate to it as a teacher, a hard teacher, an intense teacher, but a teacher that's wanting you to get free. And so therefore there is a natural kind of love, right? So this offering, letting go, transforming that grief into something beautiful, offering it over and over and over again to Medicine Buddha. So that Medicine Buddha becomes like surrounded in this universe, surrounded with our precious offering. So we're offering and offering and offering, just keep doing it. And I invite you to maybe find or experience this, I would say, the pleasure of giving and the pleasure of generosity in this practice of just offering to Medicine Buddha. And maybe you're not connecting to Medicine Buddha, that's fine. So you can just imagine just offering this grief as something beautiful just into space itself, space and emptiness. That because that's all we're actually doing is offering emptiness back to emptiness, like offering water back to the ocean, right? Emptiness back to emptiness, water back to water, space back to space, love back to love. And if you're not connecting to anything for yourself, then I invite you to imagine that you're offering collective grief, the grief of our collective, of our communities, of our world right now, offering everything into emptiness or to Medicine Buddha. And so on top of that, I want us to begin chanting the opening mantra, Mela Sangye Kino Soha. So, Medicine Buddha, please think of me, look upon me. So this becomes the offering chant as you're imagining offering to Medicine Buddha. And we're gonna do a few things with that, with the opening mantra as well. And so we'll begin with chanting and then go into chanting the mantra a few rounds and humming it, just doing a few things with it, just following me, right? And when you're ready, beginning with taking a deep breath. Om. Om Sange Hino So Om Sange Hino So 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 Sange ino so sange ino so ino so sange ino so sange ino so Hino so Hino so now begin to hum it. Mm, 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 taking a short break before we continue. As we're humming the mantra, just beginning to notice first where the vibrations of this humming is showing up for us, concentrate in our bodies. And then after a bit, and this is up to you when to transition, I invite you to shift, actually move this energy of the humming throughout parts of the body. If you're working with the body right now, if you're not working with the body, just continue humming, right? But if you're working with your body, just moving the energy of the vibrations into parts of the body that need support, right? And for me, I'm really concentrating right now in my heart center. So feeling that the vibrations really awakening my heart center, but you can go anywhere you need to go, wherever the healing and the fluidity and openness need to happen for you, go there, right? So we'll continue humming. Begin saying it again. Om Ino So Ino So Ino So one more time, and then coming into Om Namah Ino So And so we continue just to move even deeper now into this offering. And I invite you just for a few moments to reflect on something that you need. Just one thing that you really need. When I talk about needs, it's the resource that we're needing in order to experience freedom, safety, comfort, resourcefulness. Not necessarily what I want, but what I need to get free, right? That's how I understand my needs. This is helping me to experience liberation, particularly liberation from the causes and conditions of suffering. What do you need? And it's okay if you don't necessarily know what you need, but just having the question really at the forefront of your practice right now, just in your mind, is actually very, very helpful. What do I need? Just holding that question, if that's what you have, what do I need? What do I need? And if you know what you need, bringing that need again into consciousness as well. And we imagine offering this need, the energy of this need, the thought itself to Medicine Buddha as well. Or offering this into emptiness itself, and that's where we're at. And we imagine that Medicine Buddha accepts this need or just the question of what I need. And Medicine Buddha begins to radiate with this really immense radiance. And it begins to fill up our minds, the space in front of us. And if you're just working with emptiness, just imagining emptiness beginning to pulsate, to stir, right? And then slowly, we begin to imagine that Medicine Buddha begins to offer back to us whatever we need, whatever form, and whatever form is appropriate, but this continuous offering back to us, back to this one of what we need. And I just invite you just to sit and allow yourself to be offered to by this Buddha what we need. And then opening to whatever Medicine Buddha believes we need as well. And just deeply accepting that. And if you're feeling resistance, aversion to this kind of offering, even as you're being offered to, imagine offering the energy of this aversion as well to Medicine Buddha in whatever form feels appropriate for you. And as we engage in this exchange, we transition into Medicine Buddha's main mantra. Teat Daun Baconze, Baconze, Ma Baconze, Rasu Sumangate Soha. And again, you can chant along or You can just sit and listen. O teata begenze begenze ma begenze razumo gante soa 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 Deada begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumagate soa. 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 Deada begenze, 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 rasa sumagate soa. Deada begenze, begenze, ma 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 begenze, rasa sumagate soa. Deada begenze, 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 ma begenze, razumagatezoa. Teada 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 begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razumagatezoa. Just turning our attentions now to our prayer requests. And again, inviting all of our sources of refuge into the space along with Medicine Buddha, asking all remaining Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and Dharma protectors, all beings and agents of light and transformation. We're inviting also all the elements, all the spirits of the elements and guardians and caretakers of the elements, including the earth, the land. We invite all of our benevolent ancestors, all of our descendants into this space to begin to hear these prayers and work on our behalf to bring about the fruition of these prayers. I'm offering prayers for myself, for Beth and her family, her daughter and grandson who died in a fatal car crash this week. I'm offering prayers for G as she recovers from COVID. I'm offering prayers for Nina and Rishi, for all beings in all the realms and all the timelines, for swift and easeful liberation and an end of all suffering, for all beings to benefit for the blessings and the merits of my life, for Lama Rod and all involved with Bhumi Spasha, for myself to not choose violence when I act to protect myself with violence unless necessary, and for a removal of all obstacles as I continue to navigate the ivory tower of academia. Ashea. Prayers for Lisa and Alice who are suffering through a miscarriage. May they know and feel love, healing, space, and support. Offering prayers for Monique and Susan, both of whom are undergoing treatment for cancer, that the treatment is bearable and helps them heal and that they have all the support that they need. Offering prayers for the people of Morocco, that aid and recovery will come swiftly. Offering prayers for health and healing, physically and in my mind and actions. Offering prayers for the baby I'm welcoming into this realm in December. Prayers for safe passage for us both, the hands that have the knowledge, care, and skill to support Black motherhood, to bring us safely through this process, and that all obstacles be removed. Prayers for all that I need to support this being's fullness in this life. Offering prayers for all of those struggling with suicidality, depression, and addiction. May they know they are loved and supported always. Offering prayers for my friend who has just been diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, and for her friends who are trying to figure out how to show up in this situation in ways that are actually supportive and helpful. Offering prayers for my brother-in-law who is healing from quadruple bypass surgery and from anger and depression. Prayers for myself working with unbreakable fatigue and another diagnosis. Prayers for my husband who is trying to support us. May he also have care. Offering deep prayers for our earth. Offering prayers for my mother in her transition after my father's death. May she feel loved and supported. And offering prayers for Melissa as she mourns, and for Olivia and Kelly as they deal with Lyme. Prayers for Brian and Leah as they heal. Prayers for me ahead of a big interview Wednesday morning. Prayers for self-acceptance and ease. Prayers for Rainbow's mother who recently entered the bardo. Offering prayers for myself as I recover from an assault over the weekend, and prayers for the young man who hit me. Offering prayers for Jay, may they have the courage to leave the abusive relationship they're in, and may they remember their inherent worth. Offering prayers for Sabrina as she heals from a hip replacement while navigating work and parenting. Offering prayers for myself as I endeavor to heal from trauma and chronic health conditions. Offering prayers for my community member, Jens, whose mental health and acuity has been declining the past few weeks. Prayers for my godmother's father, John Wesley Branch, who is having colon and intestinal issues. Prayers for healing from my concussion, for recovering from activation of the virus. Prayers for Co. Prayers for my head and heart. May the fear and anxiety of beginning a new journey move through me and allow knowing that Medicine Buddha is with me. Prayers for all those who love me, who don't know what to do with me when I am a mess. Prayers for my beloved. May they know they are deeply loved. Prayers for all the folks on Old Baton Rouge Highway and Navina. Prayers for all those who love me, who fear me when I am a mess because of how they have experienced love by those who traumatized them long ago. Prayers for my dad who is currently in the hospital. Prayers for Monique, may she be safe, find housing and a job that provides enough resources for her to financially thrive. Prayers for my job search and creative projects. Offering prayers for Crystal, who and her mom as her mom transitioned last week. Prayers for all those feeling the immense loss. May we be held as we grieve. Offering prayers for my sister as she navigates a flare-up from long COVID. May she be protected and at ease. Offering prayers for me as asking for help is a burden for the living right now. And I am feeling cut off from the unseen world. And I continue to believe in the unseen world, which this week has felt shameful, like a child believing in Santa, except the child is 53. Prayers for all the brokenhearted. May our hearts be healed. Prayers for all those remaining here when our loved ones have passed. And prayers that I may show up as fully for the grief as I did for the love. Offering prayers for Alex and Krista, both recently diagnosed with breast cancer. May they be supported by all benevolent beings that wish them to be well, so they may undergo treatment with the most ease possible and experience deep restorative healing. Prayers for my partner and I as we navigate a massive transition in our partnership. May we hold ourselves and each other with gentleness and compassion as we make our way independently and collectively towards this new chapter in our lives. Offering prayers for all my living beloveds, especially E, who is undergoing chemo for stage 4 colon cancer, for young L, who experiences abuse in her home that is unseen and unnamed, for A, who is looking for work for over 6 months, and for all others I'm holding in my heart, for all those suffering under the intensity of climate collapse, for all my unseen beloveds who continue to support me regardless of how I can access. Prayers for both my children, Jamie and Hollister, and her children and husband, Andy, for Kathy's husband, Rob, who entered the bardo this week, and for her loss, for Linda R., also in the bardo, and her husband, Bob, who is grieving, for my many friends dealing with chronic health issues, For myself, dealing with some vertigo and a sense of unease and anxiety in the body and getting disassociated around that. Lots and lots of grief about what is happening in this country and in my state, North Carolina, the intensity around gun violence and our continued willingness to allow people to go hungry and unhoused. Offering prayers for my cat Bodhi with hypothyroidism, and may he tolerate his medicine so he can heal and gain weight. For everyone in and around the terrible earthquake in Morocco, those who lost their lives and those who survived, all the ancient sites that were lost. Prayers, offering prayers for my daughters and the children that they did not make it. Prayers for my daughters and the children that did not make it into the world. I love you even though I never held you in my arms. Offering prayers for Trisha as she continues to work with cancer, chemo, and change. May she have everything she needs. And offering prayers that my partner may find a job soon. Prayers that my anxiety and physical symptoms ease. For my beloved, may he have much joy in all he needs. For our emotional emancipation circle. For my cousins and for our real estate endeavor. For Bill P., that he experience healing and a relaxation from anxiety. And for Nate, Ben, Thevin, and family, for those struggling with the impacts of violence in their lives and community, and for myself. Prayers for Iris. Prayers for my family as we transition into a new version of how we love each other and relate to each other, expanding toward love and support that could not be found within our current arrangement. Prayers for my beloved Akeem. Prayers for my child, and may expanding toward love benefit every one of us. Prayers that my children feel loved and safe. Prayers for my ancestors. Prayers for Charles Nelson and Ethel Nelson, long gone, who made me so I can get free. Prayers for clarity and protection as I navigate a situation of harassment at work, and for connection and good results during a job interview this Friday, and for the rest and recharge after many sleepless nights. Offering prayers for Uncle David as he began your journey through the bardo. May you receive the same unconditional love that you have always offered to us all so freely. May you find your way without pain or suffering. Prayers for the 10 people who lived at your place. May they all find new homes with ease. Offering prayers for Lori. May your depression and ADD be alleviated. May you know that you are beloved. Prayers for Sally and Ben, for Kaj and Susanna. May they feel safe and free of fear. And offering prayers for my clients. May they all find the meaning and love that they seek. Offering prayers for upcoming scoliosis treatment. May it be successful. Scoliosis treatment. May it be successful. Prayers for my beautiful trans husband and myself, that we can return to the love, trust, and wholeness that we know for over 20 years. Prayers for my stepfather who has a difficult muscular disease we can't identify. I'm offering prayers for myself, healing from trauma and abuse. Prayers for myself, healing from trauma and abuse as a young girl. Prayers for my partner and I who are healing from our own trauma as children through each other, which we can sometimes reactivate unconsciously. I'm offering prayers for myself as I begin to have so many signs of aging. And I continue to offer prayers for Sheila, that she continue to move through her difficult health situation right now. I also continue to offer prayers of healing and support for Yasmin, for Stacy. Continue offering prayers for Spring, and I continue to offer prayers for all beings really struggling to get free from the causes and conditions that capitalism has brought about. I continue to pray, particularly for my uncle, who that he may slowly continue to regain conscious from a very serious car accident. I offer these prayers on behalf of our community, and I offer the prayers that were not articulated. And I offer all of these prayers together on behalf of everyone, and I offer them to our sources of refuge, to the Buddhas and all. May you work on our behalf to bring about the fruition of what we most deeply need right now for ourselves and for our communities and our beloveds and the world in general. As always, may all systems of violence be completely dissolved, and may we all experience the deepest well-being, happiness, and joy, freedom, and safety possible. And ultimately, may we all return back to remembering our innate Buddhahood. And returning our attention back into our mantra, and just imagining, just releasing the energy, the worry, the concern, the anxiety, releasing that as an offering to Medicine Buddha and to all the Buddhas that we've asked and summoned into this space. Releasing everything and letting them work to support us. O te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, 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 rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, Yada, Begenze, Begenze, Mahabegenze, Razumagadezoa. 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 And so we slowly begin to imagine, or first turning our attention back to this expression of Medicine Buddha that's arisen for us. We offer deep gratitude to Medicine Buddha for holding our prayers, for their healing and support in our lives and our liberation work. We imagine that Medicine Buddha accepts our deep gratitude and begins to dissolve into white light. We imagine that that white light is absorbed into our third eye, just in our forehead here, where our connection to Medicine Buddha is strengthened and cleared, so that Medicine Buddha is always present when we turn our minds to them. Slowly we begin to bring some movement and breath back into our bodies. And we turn into our Shantideva's prayer, our closing prayer from Bodhisattva's Way of Life. We recite this 3 times together. May I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures. And, until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach unto the ends of space. May I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures. And until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. And finally, may I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as Earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures. And until they pass away from pain, may I always be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach unto the ends of space. Okay. Thank you all so much for your practice. Um, I will be away for the next 2 sessions. I'm going away for a break, um, and I'll be back, I guess, October. Um, so thank you all so much, and we looks like I'm gonna um, try to organize a longer extended day of practice for Medicine Buddha next month as well. So you'll get word about that as soon as we get that together. Okay, and that's it for me. Thank you all so much for your practice, and I'll see you again in some form or fashion. All right, all right. Thank you all.